Centers. Today is October 21st, 2020. It's Wednesday. Rochelle, do you mind calling roll?
I don't mind. John, do you have the live stream up too? Because don't know that it is yet.
It says it's live.
Sorry, guys. Yes, we are live now.
Awesome.
Sure.
Rochelle, if you don't mind calling roll, thank you.
All right, we're repeating. Okay.
Can you hear me?
Pull up my list. Can you guys?
Okay.
Hold on, let me pull up our list, okay?
Perfect.
I get a pencil. What is up with that? Repeating. Okay, Scott Benton, are you present?
I am present.
Brenda Costello.
Present.
Susan Siebert.
I am here.
Nita Lasopalco. Do you guys want to go ahead and mute yourselves because we have some background noise that's repeating. Nita, are you present? Okay, I think Nita is not present.
I see
Okay, Vanessa Van Cor, are you present?
Here.
Did I find everybody? Did I list everyone? Did I miss anyone? Okay, for the record, Christelle Avalos is absent. Okay, Scott, that's roll call. It's up to you. Oh, technology. Let's see if Scott's data or his signal will. Anita is trying to connect.
So we will move on to item 1 point public comment.
Thank you.
Can you hear me?
Hi, Nita. How are you? Scott, you're kind of cutting in and out for us. Do you want to try one more time? And if you can't, then I'll take over for you, okay?
Okay. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, so we're going to move on to item 1.03, which is public comment. Is there any public comment?
There is none for the record.
Thank you. Hearing that there is none, we will move on to item 1.04, which is an action item to adopt the agenda. Is there anybody who would like to make a motion to adopt the agenda?
I'll move to adopt the agenda.
And I'll second that.
Thank you, Cheryl. And with that, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? All right, motion carries. We're going to move on to item 2, which is items for presentation, discussion, or possible action. The first item under this agenda item is 2.01, which is possible action and the approval of the minutes from February 26th, 2020 meeting of the Council on Family Resource Centers. Let's open it up for discussion. Is there anything that anybody has noticed that needs any corrections?
So I would like to ask, did everyone get the attachments for today so you can review and make sure that you have any questions?
I got everything but that agenda that Scott's using. I was just looking through, I have like 4, well, front and backs and all that, but there's no agenda. I have the events attended and then, you know, the other stuff, but no agenda.
Sherry, I'll send that to you real quick.
It went on a different email than those 3 attachments.
Oh, okay. It's no worries because I'm not gonna print it and go get it and bring it back. So I'm fine. So you can send it to me because I'd like to have it in my notebook. Yeah. Thanks.
Thank you, Lisa. Thank you, Cheryl. Without any discussion, I'm looking for a motion to accept or approve the minutes from our February 26, 2020 meeting.
I'll motion.
Thank you, Nita.
I'll second the motion.
Thank you, Susan. With that, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? All right, motion passes unanimously. Item 2.02 is presentation and discussion of the impacts of the COVID-19 pandemic on the Family Resource Center clients and services, including Federal Emergency Management Agency, FEMA, Resilience Ambassadors, and the University of Nevada School of Social Work interns. This is for information and discussion only. And
Hi, everybody.
I
So
believe-
that's me.
yay, Brenda, thank you.
Hello. Really good to see everybody's faces. And I can't believe we met in February. It was literally a lifetime ago. I'm sure we can all agree on that.
No kidding.
Literally, I don't even know that it came up during our February meeting. So lots has happened in the world and in the Family Resource Centers since February. Food is our #1 pressing issue for the basically for the last 10 months. So we've got good things going on, and then we've got some things that kind of we're keeping an eye on. So there is still an eviction moratorium. So the state of Nevada, like, kind of just went along with the CDC guidelines and kept so the state of Nevada didn't extend its eviction moratorium. It just coincided with the CDC. So families cannot be evicted due to COVID. However, with the new CDC guidelines that go through the end of the year, the eviction moratorium prevents landlords from evicting people unless there's criminal, or they threaten other residents or the landlord, or there's damage, or they violate their lease in some other way. So right now, families aren't being evicted, but we're nervous about what's coming down the pike as far as that goes. For a really long time, NV Energy and other utilities didn't do disconnections for the same reason. So NV Energy is in the process of kind of starting some. So our numbers are actually fairly low as far as the power bills that we've paid because people weren't getting disconnected. We certainly never stopped doing business, but that part of it is a little bit low because families weren't getting disconnected. Now, again, things are kind of loosening up a little as far as disconnections. So we're worried about that a little bit. Food for the Family Resource Centers has been huge. So I'm speaking for myself at Desert Skies. Previous to the pandemic, we were doing around 30 families a month. At the height of this, we did over 1,000 families for the month. At one point, for the mobile harvest, we had 800 cars come through. So it's down a little bit. So the Family Resource Center food pantry at Desert Skies, we're doing about 50 a week. So that's 200. And then the mobile harvest is doing between 200 and 400. So that's still at Desert Skies, 400 to 500 a month. So food is the #1 issue for us right now. The good news there's the CARES Act, and the Washoe County jumped on the CARES Act. Washoe County School District jumped on the CARES Act. Through the county, we got resilience counselors. So we're in the process of implementing some ambassadors. So they were originally, Rochelle, what were they originally called? Crisis
counselors, and that funding is actually FEMA funding. We have the CARES Act ESSERS grant that we got, 2 different grants that Brenda's going to talk to you about, or Wiley. And then we have the crisis counselors that are now called ambassadors. They're not licensed individuals, but they're placed at the family resource centers. Their focus is supporting families or individuals that have been diagnosed by COVID and helping them access resources. They've extended that to family members who have been impacted by individuals who have been diagnosed by COVID. And then now they're extending their services as well, still doing some of those same things, but in the family resource centers, and trying to support families with accessing behavioral health services.
So the good news part of that is that their focus was on COVID patients or COVID families, and then they have a little bit of freed up time, so they're being able to be placed within the Family Resource Center 1 to 2 days a week in real life or virtually. That's through FEMA funding, and the county got that money. So then Washoe County School District also applied for funding through the federal government and the CARES Act. And we have been given a pro-tech position and 2 family advocate positions. So we will be, as soon as we get permissions to follow through to hire those folks, place those folks within the family resource centers, again, to affect families that have been affected by COVID and families in general. So so there's good news that comes out of this, but the long-term effects of all of this are, of course, yet to be seen. The food bank, our partnership with the food bank is even stronger, and we're supporting events like last week instead. There was the Family Health Festival. The Family Resource Center attended that. They gave out 250 flu shots and again served 400 families. And then those events, the Family Health Festival, used to have 30 or 40 vendors. They've cut it down to 8 vendors, and we're lucky enough to be one of them. And it's drive-through, and it's strange. Everything is strange right now. So, but we're lucky to be part of that. So Feeding America 2020 projections, we expect an increase in the food needs long-term, somewhere between 57 and 77% higher than what we saw in 2018. And in 2018, according to Feeding America, Nevada was number 8 in the nation in food insecurity. So those are kind of sobering statistics. It's always basic needs. That's where our cornerstone is. So we're putting things into place to help families. Community partners are helping. So I'm really happy to say that Walmart donated, I think we've actually got 7 pallets of school supplies. Somebody at Walmart didn't get the memo that kids weren't all going back to school. So they had a plethora of school supplies, which was great. 7 truckloads of school supplies. So we estimate it's about $3,800 in school supplies that we got. So those are that's kind of the bright star in this. So yeah, and you have to look for the bright stars. So can I ask coworkers to fill in pieces that I might have missed with FRC response to COVID?
I think you've done really well. This is Lisa Guzman for the record. Food, yes, is a big one, particularly out in Sun Valley. And I would say, of course, rental assistance and utility assistance continue to be heavy hitters. So still, we have our partnerships serving as an intake site for NV Energy's SAFE program, doing a lot of volume through that. Referring families primarily for the CHAP/CARES rental assistance funding that's being managed through Reno Housing Authority, helping them through that process. There's quite a bit of money available, but what we're hearing is that people are applying and then not being able to complete the process by providing the requested documents. So we can actually help people apply for that online and then work with them to get their documents submitted. And for those who qualify, which to qualify for that, you have to have experienced at least a 50% reduction in income due to COVID. They pay not only back rent, but they'll pay forward as well. So that's our first line of defense there. And yeah, just doing what we can to help people stay afloat.
Wiley,
Linda,
did I
you
miss
want me to
anything?
talk? Oh, sorry, Wiley, go ahead.
I was just going to update you guys. I mean, I know you guys are probably all aware, but just so you know, like our service delivery model has changed a lot just due to COVID and not being able to have clients actually come into the building. So just due to Washoe County School District's rules and guidelines, we don't have anybody in the building. So a lot of what we're doing is phone, email, Zoom, Teams, whatever we can access. And then we do some emergency either drop off, safe drop off at the home, or they can come to the building, but they're just not allowed in. So we do like a safe drop off at the school where we meet them outside, and we have masks and gloves and we follow all the procedures. So just so you guys know, our model has changed a little bit. So when we do talk about the outreach activities and some of the stuff that we've done, it might seem a little bit smaller this year. And then our numbers might seem a little bit less just because of our service delivery model has changed a little bit.
So this is Brenda for the record again. So I have to give a plug to Rochelle's entire department. So between children in transition, our re-engagement specialists, and our truancy officers, and the family resource centers. So we did over 1,000 home visits, whether that was a porch visit, a park visit, or just a drop off, over 1,000 visits. So there were quite literally boots and shoes and sandals on the ground.
Yeah, well, thank you for saying that, Brenda. I appreciate that, but they're all a part of my department, so it was all of them. But yeah, we did come together as a team. We had some emergency food needs that families couldn't get to some of the food distribution sites that the school district had set up for transportation purpose reasons, or because they were in quarantine and they couldn't leave, or they had young children and they couldn't make it to some of the sites. So it was a team effort and they all came together. And in particular, Brenda did an amazing job. All of them did, but the mobile food harvest was just so busy over at Desert Skies. It was a tremendous amount of work. So we all came together and we volunteered as much as we could during those times up at Desert Skies to get food out to folks that needed it. So.
Hey, Wiley, I have a question for you. You're okay with that?
Absolutely, go ahead.
So you said the delivery model has changed, which I would have anticipated. How do those in the school district or the community know how to reach out to connect with the family resource centers? Is there a flyer that you guys post on the door or send out to staff? How is that information disseminated?
So all of our information is, all of our flyers just have our phone numbers on it. So a lot of people have been calling in. And if they do come directly to the center, I mean, there's notices on the doors and we tell them, give us a call or email us. So those are on the buildings, so people can either email or call if they actually come to the building. If we have the time and we have the availability, we might step outside with them and see what's going on and actually help them. If we have the time and we have all the, we have masks and they have masks and everything. If everybody's adhering to the procedures, then we will meet with them and talk with them. But I don't think that anything has actually directly gone out to families, or our flyers have just kind of stayed the same. And then we've just let them know that we've just been seeing them, email, phone, Zoom. Once we connect with them, we can try to figure out what works best for them in their situation.
Okay. And I just worry because I know the population that we're serving are some of the most vulnerable. So how would we as the resource center make sure that they have the ability to do a Zoom if they need to, or the Teams, or however that platform looks like? Are they able to go to the school counselors and utilize them to meet with you guys? Or is it only by, I don't want it to say that it's only by phone or.
No, we definitely we meet them where they're at. So whatever they need, if they are nervous about COVID and anything, if they're able to get to a school and do Zoom from there, they can do that from there. But if they say, hey, I don't have transportation, I only have so many minutes on my phone, can somebody come out to my house and just do the intake there? Then we'll figure out a way to get out there and get them what they need and talk with them. So it's any way that best fits their needs or what they can do. So if they can only do phone, then we can do it over the phone. If they can only do email, then we can do it over email. So we definitely are flexible, and we do the best we can to meet everybody where they're at and do the best we can to help them out.
Awesome. And I know as a whole, the Family Resource Centers have always been very accommodating. I just wanted to make sure that moving forward and through this pandemic that you guys are still doing as much as you can. And it sounds like it. So I appreciate that.
And Scott, we're all back in our offices now, but because of the food distribution at Desert Skies, like after the first 2 weeks, my staff and there's been somebody at our office every single day since March 16th. So since March 16th, we've shown up. So families just, they come, they call the number and then, yeah. So porch visits, park visits, I'm a little nervous about the changing weather, but.
I would be too. But I just want you guys to know, I appreciate it. It was just a question. I see how everybody's adapting to it. So thank you for making it work for the people
Scott, can I say, I think that's a valid question. I mean, we have tried to get the word out, but we can't stop trying to get the word out to everyone in many different ways and in different media, whether it's, through flyers or through phone calls or whatever that looks like. We have to reach some of our most vulnerable populations. And so I think it's a valid point that we can continue to think about and brainstorm. How do we make sure that families at least know, at the very least, our phone number so that they can call us and we can support them when needed.
And this is one of the platforms. I think all of us are quite well Zoom versed now, but I know at the height of the pandemic, Rochelle was doing daily food meetings. And of course, so then that lends awareness. I did bi-weekly food meetings with the food bank and bi-weekly meetings with NV Energy. So, and I'm sure that Wiley and Lisa did. So we still were in contact with other agencies, other collaborations, and of course the schools. So it just kept people's, fresh in their mind as far as where to refer.
Awesome.
If I can add to the conversation, this is Vanessa.
Yeah, of course.
For the record, part of the notes I was taking is, hearing you say, you went from 30 families to 1,000 is a really drastic jump, right? And those numbers are really shocking and sobering, and also data is so valuable for that because it gives you numbers that people can react to. And to Scott's point, I think we as council members are kind of always looking for ways to do. We meet so infrequently that I always feel like there's this energy in the group where we're like, well, what can we do? Right. And because you have a scrappy team and you're being pulled in a gazillion directions. And so as I'm hearing the conversation, I think, as Rochelle noted, we can't ever stop sort of raising awareness. And I suspect, like in most situations, the need is obviously much greater because not everyone knows. Awareness has always been an issue. And there are families who just don't think about asking for help, right? Who are undergoing, like there are people who know how to navigate systems and then those who don't. So I'm just wondering, as I'm rambling out loud, you guys, how can we help facilitate that, right? I mean, for those of us who are engaged in certain schools, do we talk to the counselor? Do we help make a flyer and print them for you and drop them off? Is there like media placement that we can help with, as a nonprofit, right? Thinking of like PSAs and stuff. But then I think previously we talked about then it presents an issue of like, well, we don't want to overload the team now because now we've done such a good job promoting it that the casework is overwhelming. So I guess, how do we strike that balance? Really the question is, how can we help? I suspect that there's a much bigger need than who is showing up, but maybe you're at capacity and we don't need to shout it out anymore. I don't know. Those are the things going through my head as I'm listening.
Vanessa, those are valid points. And honestly, there were a few times, since March that I thought, oh, I should do this with the council, like send a blurb out or something. But when you're in it, like you're literally on the hamster wheel. I can tell you that after the day that we served 800 cars, on the way home, I got so overwhelmed, I pulled over to the side of the road and just cried. I just couldn't imagine it. So now we're kind of coming to a different place because we have this CARES Act money and we're going to be hiring a few new people. And I just took some notes down as well. And I think that one of the things that hopefully the existing directors and the new positions will do is do a better job of keeping you guys in the loop as far as what we're doing. So thanks for bringing that up. But
it's to work, really. I mean, it can be, I think, again, because we're a small group and you're a small team and we're really eager to do. I know a big part of that is just the team is small and communication is exhausting. I mean, even drafting a blurb is like emotionally draining in a time that is already emotionally draining. So I certainly don't expect the updates, but I wouldn't mind homework, like, hey, we need flyer distribution. We need help printing these. We're having a hard time getting in touch with the counselor at this school. Can you guys work your networks? I think that I would imagine among everyone here, we have all of these connections and we're all struggling in different ways, but I think we can make time for these things. And so I think, don't worry about the updates as much as.
So I'll do a little show and tell. So any Thursday that you guys are interested, email me. On Thursdays, I go with one other person to a parking lot distribution and I pick up 1,000 pounds of food and I bring it back and then we sort it. Then I have another team that's organizing it. Then I have another team that gives it out. So that's any Thursday. And so I always think I'm going to stop and take a picture because it's overwhelming to look at. And then, the end of the day, the cell phone's still in my back pocket. So, and that's every Thursday. And the food bank guy, he's funny. He's like, you're only going to take 6 crates of milk. And I'm like, I'm doing this by myself and each crate is almost 60 pounds and I have to load it into my truck. So yeah, I'm good with 6 crates.
Woman, show us your muscles.
So who needs the gym? I'll just pick up milk.
So could I make a comment here? Sherry Alcano for the record. First of all, Vanessa, oh my God, that's exactly what was on my mind. And you just said it so perfectly and wonderfully. And I think that is exactly how I feel every time I'm at a council meeting is these guys are doing all this stuff and all I do is show up at a council meeting and I listen to all these amazing things they're doing, but I really would like to be able to help. So knowing that Thursdays, I mean, that's important for us to know. So if I can know where I'm supposed to meet you and help load stuff into my cars, and then we have 2 cars that we can fill up and take them to wherever your distribution, wherever everybody sorts and whatever's. And then, I mean, I think, thank you, Vanessa, for saying that. And I think it's important because most of us do want to help. We just don't know what to do and how to do it and where to go and all that business.
We've just had to be so uber careful with not overexposure. So not having more than 2 or 3 people gather at a time. And so I think we're getting better at it. So yeah, well, exactly.
Can I also add, Vanessa, just to your question also, I think that we are in the process of hiring some new staff. So the silver lining in this is we have 3 new staff that we're going to be hiring for. And my daughter is going to come in, so my dog might bark. I'm sorry. But there he goes. Sorry about that. So we have 3 new staff, plus we have the 3 ambassadors through the Nevada Resiliency Project. And then we have 3 social work interns. So we've got staff that will allow us to expand some of our support. So we do need probably, and I want my team to feel free to push back or say, no, Rochelle, you don't do that. But I think getting the word out is a really good thing right now for families to be able to come in. And I certainly don't want to stretch them too thin, but we will be able to expand some of our outreach with the new staff that we have available to us.
Hey, Rochelle, can I ask a question? With the many hats that you wear, do you connect people that are truant or have increased truancies to the Family Resource Center? Or how does that connection look so that
Yeah.
I mean, I don't want to say we have a target audience, but
Mhm.
who within the school district, how are we making connections? I would assume, just because by nature, I understand that hunger leads to truancy. Somebody's not going to go to school if they're hungry, but
Mhm.
also are we connecting them with the schools to get the prepared lunches that are being made by nutrition services? Like, what do those connections look like?
Yeah, so my department also, I oversee our truancy and chronic absenteeism interventions. So actually, Wiley and Brenda both sit on our student attendance review board. So we're serving or supporting and seeing families who have either students that are chronically absent or habitually truant. They sit on those boards, and then we develop a plan during that meeting with the family collaboratively, as well as the student, and then we provide case management for 45 days. We've done a lot of cross training amongst the staff in my department, so they are aware of Family Resource Centers. They regularly connect directly with Brenda and Wiley and Lisa, so that when needs come up, they can directly point them to the right person through Family Resource Center. I will tell you that right now we're seeing unprecedented numbers of chronic absenteeism in our district. We just looked at our data, and some of it is pretty noisy because we're still trying to figure out how to consistently and accurately take attendance. But as you know, we have 3 different models of how students can attend in our district, whether it's in person, hybrid, which is every other day, or distance learning. Our distance learners for the district are nearly 40% of our distance learners are chronically absent, which means they've missed 10% of the school year that they've been enrolled. And so our overall chronic absenteeism right now is 33%, which is, to put it in perspective, the year before last, when it was a normal year, it was at 16%. So we're looking at over 20,000 students that are chronically absent in our school district right now. Our enrollment numbers also dropped significantly from 64 to 62. We've been at 64,000 for many, many years. So we lost a big chunk of students also. So we're working a lot around chronic absenteeism because we know that is just that is a risk indicator that something else is going on, like what you said, Scott, around access to food, housing, those other things. So FRCs are really, really important in our interventions when we're trying to help students re-engage into school. So hopefully that answers your question.
Yes, it does. And the ever-pressing thing that's always on my mind, and I'm appreciative of it, is the connections to the families, because I think the Family Resource Center is just one of many outlets to the families to understand or to identify problems. Like food insecurities is always the biggest thing, but interaction to understand that child abuse isn't going on. Not that it's the primary goal of Family Resource Center, but I think being that social work is involved in the Family Resource Centers, those things are ever pressing because now they're not engaged in school. If they're truant, why are they truant? Is it truly food insecurities, or is it something like, do we know that it's their power shut off and they can't access these things? And how can we step in and intervene? So I appreciate that your team is going out and doing those things.
Me too.
So this isn't really COVID related, but it's one more plug, and then maybe we can move on. But transportation, one tiny bit of transportation that we've solved. Feel free to chime in, Susan. We have a new bus stop in Sun Valley. So the bus comes now to Desert Skies.
Nice.
Yes.
Yeah.
I saw that. I think
Yes,
somebody
it's
posted.
long year coming, but we got it there.
Yeah. It was definitely something that we saw was pressing last year.
Yeah, and so the when the food bank comes, they give out a flat, like a big flat of food. And that wasn't work for getting on the bus. So I went out and bought reusable grocery bags. And then for the folks that are, I'm meeting them at the bus stop, and then I'm loading their flat into the grocery bag so they can get on the bus with their groceries, with their food. So yay for the bus stop. So.
Okay. Does anybody have any questions on this item 2.02? All right, so we will move on. Thank you, Brenda, for the great wealth of information. Lisa and Wiley, thank you for your contribution as well. And to Rochelle for her contribution. The next item we'll move on to is presentation and discussion, item 2.03. The Family Resource Center's strategic planning process and year-to-date progress.
Okay, so this is Lisa for the record. I'm going to talk about this. I don't know if we need to maybe do a screen share or if everybody has the attachment that I sent out. So this is kind of a lot. So for the sake of time, I'm kind of just going to hit the high points, I think. Some of this is going to be duplicated that we've already talked about so far. But I am really happy to report that we have made some really good progress on our strategic plan. So thank you, Rochelle. So starting with, we're at goal, there we go. Sustaining our current funding, I would say that we definitely have been successful with that. We have reapplied for any of the grants that need to be renewed either on a 1-year or 2-year cycle. So we are good with that. We are continuing to streamline our reporting process. This overlaps a little bit with the goal of our new eLogic database system, but we are continuing to fine tune that. That's going well. Seeking new partnerships with local and state government. This is really exciting. Brenda and Rochelle did touch on the fact that we have this new partnership with the FEMA ambassadors. So this is wonderful. This is at no cost to us. Basically, they are just being placed with us. So they're functioning as part-time staff, but they do not come out of our budget. So we are super fortunate that each of our centers has a part-time resilience ambassador. We also each have, like was previously mentioned, a social work student from UNR, another huge help. And then we're going to touch on this a little bit more later, but you heard also the ESSER grant that is also going to allow us to hire new staff. So, I mean, this is the meat of what we do, is people to serve people. And the fact that we now have this additional help is just huge. So that is a very good thing. Private funding opportunities. We are fortunate enough as well to have a few local private funding sources that allow us to be able to provide rental and utility assistance. So we do try to refer clients out to other agencies first, and typically kind of use that as a last resort for people that can't be served by other sources. But we are really fortunate that we do have that available to help us prevent families from being evicted. Okay, strengthen leadership development skills. So we were actually just talking about that at our staff meeting today. And what we're going to do is have one of our social work interns work on creating an agenda for us for our weekly meetings and taking notes. So that'll be a really big help. We're all just so absorbed right now in what's going on and all of the new things that are coming our way, that it'll be really nice to have that help from one of the interns. So that is a process. And we were also talking today about working on having an all staff meeting to talk about, you know, all these new things that are going on, make sure everybody's on the same page and feels supported. So that will be in the works. We have been attending trainings. Of course, we know that there are webinars left and right, which is a good thing. There are lots of opportunities for training that we've been tapping into and sharing those with staff. And one thing that's exciting is back in, I think it was just last month, we attended a 2-day training through the National Family Support Network regarding family support standards. So there are actually like 27 standards related to being a quality family support program. And all staff attended that training and got certified in the standards. So that was pretty exciting. Cross-training within the department is something we talked about today, and incorporating that into the agendas for our directors meeting, so we can make sure that we're discussing that and coming up with opportunities for cross-training. Okay, and I'm at 3.1. There we go. Thank you. Increasing knowledge of FRCs. So of course, this is something that we're always working on. The three of us did present at a virtual meeting of the middle school counselors the other week. So that was really good to be able to connect with them, get the word out about the family resource centers, let them know about our current service model so that they can help families connect with us. And we'll continue to participate in those types of opportunities. Just a side note here, and we're also going to touch on this when it comes to upcoming events, but Thanksgiving is upon us yet again. And you may recall that this is kind of a big deal. We partner with the LDS Church and Catholic Charities to serve hundreds of families in cooperation with the school counselors. So not only is this great because we're serving the families, but it's an opportunity that we have every year to really connect with the counselors and the school staff. So we're all working on that right now. 3.2, raising FRC awareness in the community. So again, this is something that we do need to be better at. And I think that with bringing new staff on board, that will give us more opportunity and time to be able to work on that. So we will continue to work on that one. And let's see, monitor capacity, yes. And we kind of touched on that a little bit ago, that I kind of feel like, you know, right now we have pretty much been at capacity and trying to keep our heads above water. But again, very fortunate that we have the interns, the ambassadors, and soon to be new staff to be able to serve more families.
That's so good.
I know I'm going fast, so if there's any questions, please stop me and jump in. Okay, eLogic is a work in progress. We've come a long way. We had a very intensive, I think it was 3, if not 4-day training over the summer. That was really good. It is an amazing program with capacity to do incredible things, but you're always learning. So we are always learning. We've come a long way. I'm very pleased to say that we were actually ahead of the curve here. We were just on a meeting the other week with the Family Resource Center statewide, which was really nice. And most of the Family Resource Centers are just rolling out eLogic. So we were very happy that we jumped on this early and are now more or less proficient. There's room for some fine tuning, but we're definitely relying on it for our data and are very happy with it. So yes.
So I just, could you give me a little bit, just like a thumbnail, because I know you're right, we need to get through this. So it's a thumbnail on, or where I can find information on eLogic data collection system, so I can learn about it a little bit.
Yeah, so it's through, guys, I'm spacing on it's eLogic and what's above eLogic for the name of the.
I think it's Genesis.
Genesis eLogic. There's another company type name. Let me see if I can find some information that'll describe it to you.
Okay.
But it's very involved. Kind of on the downside, I mean, you need to make the time investment to be able, you know, to access the reports and all of the really nice things that it can do. So we do have to balance, you know, trying to focus on quantity and trying to serve as many clients as we can versus the time that it takes to enter the data into the system to be able to fully utilize it. So
what
that's
other,
just a
sorry, what other facilities are actually, I mean, like, is the whole district using it, or is this something that, I mean, how is this, who uses this?
Yeah. Wiley, were you getting ready to say something?
So yeah, Sherry, I'll answer your question for you. So it's the Center for Applied Management
Thank you.
Practices. It's called CAMP for short. They came a long time ago, and they're really the four-leaders of running a database with case management software. And so their website is appliedmgt.com, and you can find some information there. They actually contracted with the state of Nevada for the next 5 years for most of the programs. So all the community action agencies, the FRCs, a lot of everything that goes to the grants management unit through the state of Nevada will start utilizing eLogic, and they're the ones that are just coming on board now. Again, we were a little bit ahead of the curve on that, so we've been using it for the last year, whereas now they're just coming online. So hopefully there's things down the road that we'll be able to connect and do direct referrals through the system, be able to communicate and chat, and really link all the services. But that's later down the road. So
yeah, okay, I see. I get where it's going. I just wanted to figure out exactly. That was weird.
Thanks, Wiley.
Guys,
Okay.
if you have the live stream open, then it will repeat like that. So if you have the live stream for YouTube, you'll want to get out of it because it keeps repeating. If there's a delay.
Hey, Lisa, can I ask a question if you are open to it?
Yes. Yes, of course.
Did eLogic replace another system? Did it replace the use of HMIS that we were using at the Family Resource Center?
Yes.
Okay. That's what I thought I remembered. I just wanted to make sure that I was clear on that.
Yeah, so we had used that for several years and we kind of felt like we were always struggling with it and had to constantly be doing customizations, and it just never really worked the way we needed it to. So again, this is much more like social services, case management oriented. You know, plus the fact that all of the FRCs statewide are now using it. So it's basically a requirement at this point anyway. So yeah, this does seem to be working better for us.
The old data system actually cost us money, and for now the state is absorbing the cost of this one. So it's saving us $2,000, $2,500 a year. So that's always good too.
Always.
Yeah.
Okay, so the annual report, I'm sure you all remember the project that we embarked on with Sheila Leslie and the state FRC analysis, and they put together a little report for all of our centers. Has everybody seen that report that they gave us for our centers? Okay, we need to get that out to you. So
Scott, did you get, it was called the CCAT. I thought she had sent it out to everyone that had participated. I know you were over at the Central Family Resource Center. Did you get a copy of that?
Yeah, I don't remember, but it's very possible that I did, and I looked at it and it hasn't been in the front of my index, so I can't say I remember it. I just remember going through the process.
Most of you participated. It was a 147 question survey that took forever. And then there was eventually an end result report. So we'll make sure to get you our individual ones in the
yeah, the little profile is what I was thinking of. the profile that they came up with for each center. So we'll make sure to get that to you. And then align with the strategic plan. I think that's something that we're always looking at and striving towards. So I'm really happy with the progress that we've made, and I'm really happy that we embarked on this process because it was actually a bit overdue. So thank you again to all of you. I mean, going back to the CCAT, you know, that was huge. That was a big time commitment for all of you. And just thank you for being a part of that in the whole strategic planning process. So don't feel like you're not doing anything, please, because you've done a lot and we really appreciate that.
Lisa, just a quick question. So for the strategic plan goals, are there specific like numerical targets for some of the more quantifiable categories? Like the increased knowledge or increased efforts, like was there a specific benchmark that you were going for?
I don't think that we did really put numbers on it. I mean, basically everything out of the strategic plan is in the attachment that you should have. So I don't think that we did really put numbers on it. I mean, some of the things have like meet at least annually with school personnel, monthly staff meetings, I think it was, quarterly all staff meetings. So there are some targets like that, but not every goal has a specific numerical target.
So Nita, by the time we were finishing up the strategic plan, it was into June. So we were well into COVID. So I think we were reluctant to put numbers on things because we just threw everything into the fan. I mean, it's just, how do you quantify COVID?
Any other questions I can answer about the strategic plan? Thank you, everybody.
I had a question, actually. This was unrelated to increasing knowledge internally within the school district. I wasn't in the February meeting, but in reading the minutes, I saw that there was mention about Lindsay Anderson, which we had talked about before, ahead of the legislative session. So I don't know, who knows what that will look like. I know we can do virtual, but I think I don't want to lose sight of that, of just having us thinking about how to lobby or what we can be doing at that level, whether it is an informational session from her, or she teaches us something, or presents, or we present. But I remember seeing that in the minutes, and as you were going through the strategic plan, that came to mind. So
yeah, Vanessa, I can tell you that I did meet with Lindsay, and she is more than happy to come do an informational session. Obviously, like as school district employees, there's limits to what we can and can't do. But as citizens, you all can advocate, and we may be looking at what funding might look like for Department of Health and Human Services. That's where we get, the bulk of our funding from, and what that might look like. And so she definitely is willing to come talk to us. And then she's also willing to keep an eye on anything that's kind of out there, let us know, and give us the opportunity to come down and speak in front of our legislatures if we feel like that's something that would be beneficial.
Yeah, I don't want to lose energy on that. So
yeah,
let us know if that's something that we should follow up on as citizens, or just, I guess, a little direction on how we can make sure we're still moving that forward.
Okay.
Yeah. I don't know if this came up in your presentation, Lisa, but I had it in my notes and I forgot to ask it about the FEMA ambassadors. That sounds awesome. I don't know anything outside of this meeting, rather, but that's really exciting. And I wonder, again, this goes back to how much do we promote the resource center without overwhelming staff, but that seems like a really good piece of good news and interesting news that could be good for media. I know they're looking for happy stories. So I know we have to work with the district's communication team, but it just seems like a cool story that could
Yeah.
be out that's also really interesting. I mean, I'm going to search it later, but I'm just really personally also interested by this ambassador. I think you called it resilience ambassador.
Resilience ambassador.
Yeah,
Mhm.
even the name is cool, huh?
It's called
Yeah.
the Nevada Resiliency Project, and it's being funneled through Human Services Agency, but actually Julia Ratty was the one that reached out initially and had secured the FEMA funding for them. And they are not just placed at Family Resource Centers. I think they're also at Boys and Girls Club as well.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, and I think we have Sheila Leslie.
I think we lost Brenda. I think
Yeah.
Sheila was the one that connected us to Julia initially so that we were able to secure these positions.
It's a really fun factoid. I don't
Yeah.
know who would push that out, but I think that's really interesting.
All right, are there any other questions, comments, discussions? Lisa, did you have anything else on this item?
I am good, thank you.
Awesome, thank you for what you do and the information that you just shared on item 2.03. So moving on to item 2.04, it's the presentation and discussion of current Family Resource Center grants received and funding status for information and discussion only.
Hi guys, that's me. So Wiley Evanson for the record. So just going to go over a little bit about some of the changes that have come through with some of our funding, and just kind of give you a little overview. I think most of you are familiar, but if not, just kind of give you a little rundown of our grants. So we have the FRC Fund for Healthy Nevada grant. That one stayed the same this year. We got the same allocation that we did last year. And then we got the same funding for our Children's Trust Fund, and for those grants through our parenting programs, which Brenda and the Desert Skies Resource Centers offers, the Parenting Wisely and the Apple Seeds program. And then we also had some changes to our Title IV-B grant that also falls under a little bit of our parenting programs, as well as working with child welfare. So last year with the Title IV-B grant, we only received $25,000 for the year. And so that was one we really wanted to see what we could do to apply for some additional funding and see if we could work in some additional programs and things that we could offer, or the things that we're already offering, see if we could get them to fall into those categories. So we were able to write a grant this last year, and we got some additional funding there. So there's two categories to the Title IV-B funding, which is one is family support. And that's mostly everything that a lot of the services that we provide already, basic needs, food, shelter, hygiene, clothing, all that kind of stuff. So that this year we got $48,000 in funding for that, through that grant. And then another portion of that grant is family preservation. And that's really working with our child welfare agencies, with Washoe County Human Services Agency, working with our Washoe County School District foster care liaison, and helping families that are involved in child welfare. And for that grant, we received $57,000 this year for that grant. So a total for Title IV-B is $105,000 that we received this last year. And we're hoping to continue that going and continue writing those grants for Title IV-B.
Hey, Wiley.
Yeah.
Is that in addition to the grants that we were already awarded and were notified of, or are these new grants, or are these continuous grants that we've applied for?
So these are continuous grants. So just the Title IV-B, we applied for, there's funding under both categories. Last year, we only applied under the family support, and then we were only awarded the $25,000. This year, we applied for the family support and got the 48. And then we also applied for the family preservation portion of that to receive funding under that portion, and then got the 57. So they're the same grants that we've been applying. We just, we applied for additional pieces of those grants that we hadn't applied for in the past.
Awesome, good job, thank you.
Okay. And then as we've you guys already know, we got the ambassadors, the crisis counselors. And so I'm not sure if it was mentioned, but those will be in our office through May. So currently we have them through May, but it could be extended. We're not sure what that's going to look like. So we have them. And then the last piece, and that's kind of already been mentioned, is the COVID funding through ESSERS for the Protect position and the 2 family advocates. The Protect position, that is going to be another director that we're going to hire, will be an allocated grant. So that one will only be 18 months. So that person will only be with us for a short period of time, but will hopefully really help us out and really get us some additional support that we need. And then the 2 family advocates is part of a competitive grant. So we're hoping that if we can apply for that again next year and get the same funding to have an additional 2 family advocates for the successive years coming. There was one big change, and one of the grants that we had was the Join Together Northern Nevada, the JTNN, that actually helped fund some of our parenting programs. So again, like I mentioned, the Apple Seeds program and the Parenting Wisely program, we were working with them, and they awarded us $13,000 last year. And since then, since we've got some additional funding and we were able to place some of our programs in these other grants, we absolved the JTNN grant. So we're no longer working with JTNN and receiving the funding from them. So that was one of our big changes. And then lastly, we still do have our private donors. We got some additional funding through the Lemelson grant, through the Barker Foundation, and all of those grants from private donors just go to our basic needs. So they help us pay utility bills, water bills, help pay rental assistance, any kind of basic needs. So food, clothing, shelter, all that kind of stuff comes out of those grants. And that's pretty much it for our funding. Does anybody have any questions? Any clarifications? Okay.
I'll jump in and say thank you. I appreciate the update, and I'm happy to see that new opportunities for additional funding are coming through and that we're jumping at those opportunities. So I appreciate the work that you do.
Thank you.
Does anybody have any questions, comments? All right. Moving on to item 2.05, it's a presentation and discussion on the Family Resource Center's year-to-date data on the number of clients served in outreach events conducted by staff, including information on future community events and volunteer opportunities for the council members. This item is for information and discussion only. And it looks like maybe Brenda's going to present this. She's unmuted. Is this your item, Brenda?
Actually, I think Lisa is presenting, but she's muted. There she is.
Wiley, are you doing the numbers and I'm doing outreach?
Yeah, I can do that. Which one do you want to start with first?
Numbers is first, I guess, if you want to do numbers. Either way.
Okay. Does everybody have the handouts for the FRC numbers served? Yep, looks like everybody's got it. Okay. So this is what I was able to pull through our eLogic database. This is just numbers served through July until September 30th. So as you can see, the number of families and individuals and children that we've been able to serve. I didn't put last year's numbers on here just because it's drastically different in our service model and how we're serving our clients. So I didn't feel like it was going to be a good frame of reference. So it's going to continue moving forward from here. But if you guys do want those numbers from last year, I can get those to you guys, and I can do a presentation on that next time, or just get them out to you guys so you guys can look at them. But we're still staying pretty high with our utility applications. I think kind of like we've mentioned before, utility bills were really big and something that a lot of families needed help with. So if you look on our numbers, so the EAP applications and the emergency safe applications that we've processed about 243 since the beginning of July. And then the emergency housing assistance, we've helped out 25 families. Again, we were Since our service model, we were referring a lot to Housing Authority through the CARES funding that they got through the CHAP program, which is the community, or the I think it's the CARES, it's the housing assistance program that they have through their office. So we did refer a lot of families there that did get a lot of assistance. And then I'm not sure if a lot of you heard, but a lot of programs got some of the additional funding that was administered through United Way. So like Catholic Community Charities, Children's Cabinets, Salvation Army, they got a lot of that funding. And I mean, we applied, but we weren't one of those agencies that got the funding. So we referred out a lot to those other agencies. So they saw a lot of our emergency housing assistance. If they weren't able to help, then they came back to us and we helped them out. And so you could see on there, food and nutrition was also pretty high. About 215 families receiving food and nutrition out of the 363. And then wellness, hygiene kits, gift cards, clothing vouchers, that was also really high. It's really nice for us to have gift cards on hand. We may not be able to buy, if they get a food box, it may not have those refrigerated items like milk and eggs and meat. So if we can give them a gift card and they can go out and buy that. So we did give out quite a few of those and some hygiene kits. And then about 234, so about a little over half of our families got a referral, at least somewhere else, to another agency to get some additional assistance. So, and if anybody has any questions, I'll take any questions.
So Wiley, the way to read the data then is like that's total families, children within those families, and then individuals, right? And then from that is a breakdown of like how many of those needed utility assistance and so forth.
Yeah, so I just wanted to give you an idea of like how many, I mean, sometimes we've kind of kept this data this way. I just wanted to give you an idea of how many actual individuals and that we're actually serving. So, I mean, sometimes it's also families that come in. So we track the families, but we also track the seniors and then any single person that doesn't have family members. So that gives you an idea of just the individuals that are coming in. So that is the way to read it. So then you also, since we also track how many children we're actually serving through our grants. So.
And Wiley, correct me if I'm wrong, but these are unduplicated numbers.
Yes.
So if they've come back more than once, then that doesn't really show. So.
And so you may see that on our numbers for our next meeting when I present. You probably will see a lot of clients coming back. I know that we have a lot of families that we are case managing, especially right now, and we're making multiple contacts with. So you may see a lot of these families coming back and getting additional services. Thanks, guys.
Okay, so I will cover outreach events attended and upcoming. Everybody should have this handout as well. If you want to just take a look, again, a lot of coordination with the food bank, particularly at Sun Valley. You might remember that we had partnered with them for SNAP outreach, where their workers come on site to the family resource centers and help people apply for SNAP and Medicaid on site, and they can also conduct the required interview for SNAP. So we had stopped that for a while due to COVID. Brenda and I both have them coming on site again. Unfortunately, at Central Reno, there's just not room to be able to do that safely. But they started coming back to Sparks actually this month. And Brenda, I don't remember if they started back with you last month or this month.
No,
so.
same October.
Yeah. So we do have that. There's been several family health festivals like Brenda mentioned. A lot going on in Sun Valley, the medical clinic that they just had out there. Opportunity Alliance through the United Way, if anyone has heard of them or is interested, they have, is it monthly, weekly? I think it's monthly. Brown bag lunch series where they discuss different topics. So if anybody's interested in that, they do a lot around housing. You could tap into that.
They were actually weekly for a while and they put them all on YouTube. So they are recorded.
That's
if
true.
You want to go back, there's a lot of things around like equity and
Yeah.
justice and things like that around Black Lives Matter as well.
Yeah, they've had really good topics. So we've tried to be attending those. We participate in the Family Stability Partnership that's looking at the community school philosophy. The School District Equity Task Force Committee, the Middle School Counselors Meeting, like I mentioned. Health Plan of Nevada has quarterly meetings where they bring service providers together to share information. And then some trainings that we've attended. And then we do have these upcoming events. You might have heard that the district is having a college awareness week this week that they're doing virtual. So typically they would have the college fair up at UNR, which obviously is not happening now. So I think that they have replaced that with the virtual college awareness week that offers a lot of the similar services there. There is a pretty intensive housing summit that's coming up next month. I know Wiley and his family advocate, Jean, as well as Rochelle, are planning to attend that. And then, as I mentioned, our Thanksgiving assistance, Brenda's pickup. So this is when all the schools will come to the church to pick up the bags or boxes to take back to their schools. For Sun Valley and Central Reno, that's going to be on November 10th. That's at the one on Rock, right, Brenda?
That's correct, yeah.
Rock and McCarran?
McCarran.
Yes. And then for Sparks, Northeast and Northwest, ours is actually scheduled now. It's November 17th. And that is at the LDS stake on Kings Row. So if anybody's interested in seeing how that works, just let us know.
I'd love to come join on November 10th if you guys need an extra set of hands.
I will send you an email. Thanks, Nita.
Mm-hmm.
So at least just like, I want somebody there to take pictures because like I said, I always forget. So, and one of the things we've talked about having a new person do is compiling, documenting what we're doing. And pictures always helps. It always helps to tell the story.
I can bring my camera.
And just to add, we'll be doing one. Central Reno has one for Christmas. So if you guys missed the Thanksgiving one, we will be doing one in December. Our pickup date as tentative right now is December 7th. So I can give you guys some more information about that later down the road. If you guys can't attend the Thanksgiving one, there'll be one in December.
To that point, I think in a prior year we had talked about or asked about like this concept of adopting families. Is there something that we can do to engage our community, our networks, in helping, knowing that the holidays are upon us and there are way more people in need this time? So is there, there's like labor we can offer in picking up food, but is there anything else that would be helpful, like supplies or buy, how some people do, like you can buy gifts for families? I don't know. Is there some other way that we can show up for families around the holidays?
I think it's a really good question. This is Sherry answering Vanessa, and I'm not the board. I'm just the board. But I think it's a great idea because most of us always pick families and that type of thing around Christmas. And it would be nice to be able to galvanize some of our friendship circles. I know I certainly could galvanize some of my friendship circles. I had a couple book clubs and all that business. So and try to collect items that were needed. So if I knew what I was doing, I could say, hey, this is what we need. Can anybody contribute? And then we could drop off.
Well, I can tell you both that we have some, do have some things that we're trying to put into place that weren't quite ready to tell you guys about, but we can. So we're partnering with, what is it called, Wiley, the Coat Drive folks?
It's the Big Reno Coat Drive.
The Big Reno Coat Drive. They're going to partner with us and doing a coat drive for families. Tycor Title contacted me today. I haven't even had a chance to talk to anyone about it. They're pulling together a bunch of vouchers for meals for families through Rayleigh's, I think it is. So that is brand new just today. I don't totally know all the details. And then the food bank always does, and Brenda can tell you about this, they do their drive-by food donation, and all of these things, these larger community things, benefit our family resource centers because they always contribute and provide us those things. So those might be other ways that you might want to participate as we get into the holidays too.
And you work so closely with families that, I mean, if part of it is no one is there to manage it, that could be something we can manage. Even if you said we have 10 families that we know of that they've just had a hard year, do you guys want to adopt? I mean, that's something that I'm volunteering myself, but I just think could be organized, right? And it can be small to start if something that specific doesn't exist, and then we can scale. Because I think, the coat drives, these are all really fantastic, and food sounds like a primary need, but I'm just picturing the families that are just sort of missing that extra whatever on Christmas or whatever holiday it is that they celebrate. And so I think even if it's a small list, I'm happy to help.
Yeah, Vanessa, just to add to that, we do have some different businesses and different individuals that do that, and they'll reach out to us usually at the end of November and say, hey, will you guys keep an eye out for a family and just let us know what they may need. So if you guys are interested in that, maybe just reach out to one of us, as Brenda, Lisa, or I, and we can identify some families and get you a list of some things that you can either donate or purchase for that family. We also have a couple individuals that they shop, and if they see something, blankets, all kinds of stuff, they'll just swing it by and drop it off at the center. So you guys are more than welcome to do that, and we'll get them out to the families, and we can always give you a little update on what family we gave it to, and kids and what their situation is, so you kind of have a little bit of an idea. So that's always possible too, if that's something you guys want to do. But just reach out to us as one of the directors, and we'll be happy to identify some families and get that going for you guys.
Thank you.
So this is,
Sorry.
no, go ahead.
I was going to suggest, and I don't know if you guys do this already or not, but Amazon has like the public wish list, so that if there are people who they know what they need, that way if it's the right size, the right color, or whatever, they can create that public wish list and someone else can go in and pay for it, and it ships directly to that family, and we don't know their address or anything like that. That way it's also like low contact in the era of COVID.
That's such a great idea.
So in the past, we generally refer to the Salvation Army, and their holiday assistance right now is kind of on hold. They're not sure what they're going to do. But to Vanessa's point about need, so just as a point of reference, last year for Christmas, WACS, which is Women and Children of the Sierras, also known as the Diaper Bank, last year for Christmas, they did 114 families. That's what they served. This year, by October 15th, they had requests from over 120 families. So we can absolutely link you with those, or if we want to take it offline and do some kind of a mini angel tree per center or something, those are things we can consider. But thank you for thinking of us and our families.
One, I have to say, I'm so sorry, but I have to go. I have a bunch of family who arrived unexpectedly, and they've been here for like 45 minutes. And so they're getting ready to go, and I have to say, go say goodbye. So
thanks, Sherry.
Thank you for being here. Thank you. We are getting close to the end of our time. So, and Scott had to also leave. Fortunately, we're still at quorum. So I'm going to take over for him. And it looks like, I got to pull up the right agenda though.
Well, if I leave, will we be in trouble?
No, we're okay still. So go ahead. We thank you for being here. It was really good to see you.
It's great to see all of you. Thank you. Bye now.
Bye.
Great work, everybody. As usual, you bless my heart.
Oh, thank you. We're moving on to item 2.06, information and discussion on the proposed meeting calendar for the 2020-2021 school year for information and discussion only. Did we send out a proposed schedule? Does that work for everyone, or does anyone need us to consider other days or times?
Just a reminder, this is Lisa for the record. The future dates are January 20th and April 21st. That is sticking with the third Wednesday at 6 p.m.
And are those going to be virtual as well as the plan?
Yeah, it looks like we'll continue virtual until we get the word that we can be in person. But at this point, they're going to continue through Zoom. So we have John that's from IT on, and he's probably been maybe or maybe not be listening, but he's supporting our Zoom sessions for us. So we've got some support through board services. Thank you for helping us.
Thanks,
We
Jen. Yeah.
appreciate it. I like that he's wearing a Giants shirt, by the way. So good. All right.
Thumbs up.
All right, we're going to move on to closing items. 3.01 public comment. We do not have any public comment that I'm aware of at this time. 3.02 next meeting announcement will be Wednesday, January 20th at 2021. And if there is not any other final comment, we will adjourn at 7:22.